Sycamore Hollow had always been a quiet place. Hidden between mountain ridges and tangled woods, the small town lived in silence, broken only by the occasional thunderstorm or the wind through the trees. But near the old Bennett property, just past the tree line, the wind carried something else. Whispers. Locals avoided that land. Kids dared each other to touch the rusty iron gate, but none ever crossed it. The legend was older than the oldest town record. Beneath the sycamore roots, voices sleep. Disturb them, and they'll wake hungry. Most dismissed it as folklore. But Claire Redmond, a graduate student in folklore studies, thought it was her chance to publish something truly groundbreaking. Claire had driven from Boston with a backpack, a recording kit, and a head full of curiosity. The Bennett property hadn't been touched in 50 years, not since the entire Bennett family vanished in the summer of 1978. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle, just a dinner table set for 6. She arrived on a gray afternoon. The sky was low and heavy, the air electric with storm tension. The land was quiet, too quiet. The house, though half collapsed, still loomed tall. Claire walked past the porch, stepping over vines, and toward the sycamore tree that marked the center of the backyard. It stood massive, ancient. The bark peeled like old skin. At its roots, the grass grew thinner. And there, beneath the tree, was a circle of stones, worn smooth with age. Claire's recorder clicked on. This is Claire Redmond, Field Log 1. Location: Sycamore Hollow, Bennett property. Investigating legends of whispering voices beneath the sycamore tree. She sat by the stones and waited. At first, nothing. Then, as the sun dipped behind the hills, she heard it. A whisper. Soft. Delicate. Almost melodic. Claire. She froze. "Hello," she called out. No reply. The whisper had come from below. The next morning, Claire returned to town to question locals. At the diner, she met Martha Keene, who had been 16 when the Bennetts disappeared. They were normal folk, Martha said, stirring her tea. Kids were quiet, polite. But that tree, something changed when it grew. Claire leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Martha looked uneasy. "That sycamore grew fast. Too fast. One year it was a sapling. The next it towered over the house. Mr. Bennett said the roots cracked the basement walls. They were hearing sounds at night. Whispers. Like someone talking through the floorboards. Did anyone investigate? They tried. Sent a priest. He didn't last 2 hours. Left screaming." That evening, Claire went back. She couldn't stay away. She set up 2 recorders, one by the stones, one inside the house. As the sky turned violet and the wind returned, the air shifted again. She sat cross-legged, eyes closed, breathing in the silence. Then it started. "Claire, stay. Below." She opened her eyes. The ground felt different. Softer. As if breathing. Suddenly, the recorder near the tree sparked and shut off. The stones began to vibrate. Claire backed away, but the ground beneath her crumbled slightly. Her boot slid into a hole, a narrow tunnel under the tree. She knelt to inspect it, heart racing. From the darkness came a sound like breathing, and then fingers. Pale, bony fingers reached out from the soil. Claire stumbled back, scrambling to her feet. But as she turned to run, she saw them, shadows moving between the trees. Silent. Watching. She ran to the house and slammed the door shut behind her. The whispers continued. Inside the living room, the old furniture sat undisturbed. Dust covered everything. But on the wall, something new had appeared. A handprint. Wet. Fresh. She backed away slowly, until the floor beneath her gave out. She fell into darkness. Claire landed hard in what looked like an old cellar. But this wasn't on the house's blueprints. The walls were stone. The air was cold. At the center of the room, an altar. On it, a book. She stepped closer. The book was open, pages covered in strange symbols and drawings. She flipped to the last page. There, written in English. "Feed the tree. Silence the voices. or they will rise again. Suddenly, her recorder, still clipped to her belt, burst with static. And then a voice, clear and close. You shouldn't have come here. Claire's body ached as she stood up in the stone cellar. Her flashlight flickered weakly, casting jumping shadows across the room. The air was dense, more alive than air should ever be. She clutched the strange book from the altar. Feed the tree. Silence the voices. Or they will rise again. A groan echoed from deep within the walls, like the sound of earth grinding against bone. The whispers began again, louder this time. She opened the door. The blood remembers. She must stay. Suddenly, footsteps, slow and dragging, approached from the dark corridor leading out of the room. Claire backed away, heart thundering. Then a shape appeared, thin, tall, skin hanging loosely off its bones. Its face was blurred by shadow, but its eyes glowed faintly green. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't even a human anymore. It was Mr. Bennett. His voice was hollow, echoing with centuries of rot. You weren't supposed to find this place, he rasped. You weren't supposed to hear them. Claire held up the book. What is this? What did you do to your family? Bennett's head twitched. We didn't die. We were taken. The tree, it feeds. Every few decades, it calls someone back. Claire's mouth went dry. So, you've been alive all this time?
No.
Not alive. Not dead. We belong to the roots now. The walls began to pulse. And then came a sound that made Claire's skin crawl. Laughter. Children's laughter. Familiar. She turned. In the shadows behind the altar stood 4 smaller figures, his family.
Helen.
The children. Staring. Unmoving. Claire bolted. She sprinted down a hallway, torch bouncing wildly, her breath ragged. She reached a ladder leading back to the collapsed floor above. With shaking limbs, she climbed out and emerged once again into the ruined living room. Outside, the storm had finally broken. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder cracked like cannon fire. She ran for the sycamore. The stones around it were now glowing with a sickly green hue. Roots pushed through the earth like arms reaching upward. Claire opened the book. She had no idea what she was doing, only that she had to try something. Anything. One passage, written in English between cryptic symbols, stood out. The sacrifice must return. Blood awakens the buried. Fire seals them. Claire looked up at the massive sycamore. It wasn't just a tree. It was a tomb. Suddenly, something grabbed her ankle. She screamed as she fell backward, dragged toward the open hole beneath the tree. Hands reached from the soil, skeletal, covered in dirt and moss. Voices rose in chorus. Feed the tree, stay beneath. Claire kicked free and rolled away. She ran to her backpack, pulling out the emergency flare she'd packed. Fire seals them, she whispered. With trembling fingers, she lit it. The red flare blazed bright against the rain, casting an eerie light across the backyard. She hurled it into the pit. A scream unlike anything human erupted. The earth convulsed. The roots writhed like snakes. Then the tree began to burn. The fire spread unnaturally fast. The roots turned black and cracked like coals. The whispers rose to a deafening pitch, then stopped all at once. The tree collapsed in on itself, dragging the stones, the hole, and the whispers into the earth. And then silence. True, blessed silence. 1 week later, Claire sat on a bench in the town square, bandaged but alive. Across from her, Martha Keene placed a cup of tea in her hands. They say the tree was struck by lightning, Martha said. Claire nodded slowly. Let them believe that. And the voices? Gone. Martha studied her. But something changed in you. Claire didn't answer right away. Instead, she pulled the recorder from her coat pocket. She pressed play. At first, just static. Then, very faintly. Thank you. The voice was a child's. Claire smiled slightly. I set them free. Back in Boston, Claire presented her research. But no one believed the whispers. The photos were blurry. The recordings too corrupted. The story too wild. But Claire didn't care. Because she knew. And deep in her drawer sat the final page of the book, torn before the tree fell. It read, "Every tree has roots, but some stretch deeper than death." Claire burned that page the next day.